Every time I see a story on the news or just hear about it, you feel that same pain.
Yeah, that pain continues 13 years after her son, 16-year-old Keyshawn Bell, was murdered in Pontchartrain Park. Mike McDaniel first covered the case back in 2013. Now, more than a decade later, his mother is still waiting for answers. And, of course, joining us this morning is President and CEO of Crimestoppers of Greater New Orleans, Darlene Cusanza.
Thank you.
Take us back to how this happened. Tell us about this case.
This is really, it's just, they're all so sad, but this one particularly, I mean, this is a young man, he was a sophomore, and he was attending the senior skip day, and they were going to Pontchartrain Park. This was March 21st, again, 2013, and he and his friends were out having a great time, and his friends saw him leave with two young men, and at that point, he was not seen again until his body was found later that night. And we don't know, he seemed to have known the individuals when he walked off with them, but his body was discovered after having been shot, actually on close to Providence Street in Prentice at the railroad tracks. And a neighbor heard, well, a couple of the neighbors heard the gunshots, and they went out and looked, but nobody saw anybody leaving. So we do believe, law enforcement believe, that maybe they made their escape over the railroad tracks, so they weren't visible to anybody at the scene. But there were two individuals through this. We'd gotten a lot of tips with the mom, and we had two individuals that were people of interest. There were two males, and they were, they were interviewed. And regretfully, at this point, there's still not enough information. But we know that there were so many teens out there. This was a big event, and we're hoping. I know it's so many years later, but the mom still has his Instagram, Keyshawn's Instagram page up. And, she just is so desperate. She came to us, she says, let's do an increase. So we just bumped that reward back up to $10,000. And that's what we want you to hear. I mean, if you were out there, and we know several people were interviewed about, what they saw, but if you were his friend, and he was into football, he had a lot of friends. His mom said he always was protective of his family, but again, we have not closed that case. So give us that tip.
Has there been any movement on the case in the last 6 months or a year?
Not in the last 6 months or a year, but the individuals that had been interviewed previously, I know that we're looking to talk to you again. Obviously it takes some time for people to feel comfortable, but we know that someone knows who who was the last person that he was with. And
I'm guessing you've seen cases where even though it was 13 years ago, that people will come forward 13 years later.
Definitely.
That's not uncommon, right?
Definitely. Time heals a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Time can heal wounds, but certainly time makes it a safety net for folks to come forward. So give us a tip.
If you had to make a pitch to a person who might know something in this case, what would you tell them?
I would say, I know that you were a teenager. I know that you're a young person. And if your mother had been grieving all of this time, and you have information that you've withheld, you see the pain that causes. Come forward. And with us, it's anonymous. So there's no fear that you have to have before giving us that information. And there's a big reward on the table.
Yeah. Okay. We also have a fugitive in this week's Tournament Tuesday.
Tournament Tuesday. We appreciate y'all do this. So today we're looking for Mr. Grinnell Harris. You see his picture there, a black male, approximately 38 years old, birthday to 3/16/1998. He is wanted for, this is not a great thing. He is wanted by the New Orleans Police Department, but the U.S. Marshals are out there helping to try to apprehend him. He's wanted for third-degree rape and crimes against nature, sexual intercourse with an intimate family member. Now, this warrant was issued in April of 2023, and he is aware of this warrant, and we just need you to let us know, do you know where Grinnell Harris is? Give us a call. Now, with Tournament Tuesday, you do get a bonus in that reward if you make the phone call or send the tip in, however you send it, within the first 48 hours. But we need your information to bring this gentleman to justice.
Darlene Cusanza, we sincerely appreciate you coming on with us on Tuesdays.
Thank you.
And for all the work you do.
Thank you.